this time every week or two, we talk a lot about animals and if your pets could talk. But this morning, we're going to talk about an organization that is up from the Ames area, Bailing Out Benji, Jackie. Great organization. Matt Huffman is joining us right now. Tell us about Bailing Out Benji.
Well, Bailing Out Benji is a nonprofit organization based out of Ames, and we focus locally and nationally on puppy mill awareness and humane education specifically for dogs. And we spend a lot of time protesting pet stores that sell from puppy mills, and also just spend a lot of time trying to get the awareness out there of what exactly puppy mill is. I think a lot of people hear the term without actually knowing a whole lot behind of what actually goes on in a puppy mill.
So what is your definition of a puppy mill?
Well, the definition that most people use of a puppy mill is a large breeding facility that's going to focus on profit over the care of the animals that they keep there. And what that means more in depth is you have a facility with literally hundreds of dogs, adult dogs, and a small facility is usually going to be well over 100, 150, and the larger ones can get over 500 to 1,000 at one time. And now usually you only have a handful of people working in the same place. So what they do is they keep these dogs in cages literally their entire lives. As long as they can breed them, that's how long that dog's going to stay in one of these cages. Most of the time, they're all wire on every side, including on the floor, and that's what they walk on. And they get, problems with their feet, all sorts of things. They use the bathroom in there, and they stay in there constantly. If they are going to clean it, which some of them do and some of them don't, they go through and power wash them, which means some of them will lose eyes.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I haven't heard that part.
Yep. We actually have pictures on our Facebook from a breeder release that we had just this weekend, and there's a Chihuahua that was not only overweight and probably pregnant, but also was missing an eye too. So these are the kind of conditions that these dogs live in. And one of the best comparisons is if you think of having a beagle, put it in your dishwasher and keep it there for 12 years. That's legal, according to the USDA and to the state of Iowa.
So do you guys work on legislation or education to get the word out about what's happening?
Well, legislation has a very specific and important part to taking care of this problem. But what we focus on is the education part of it, mostly because that's where everything starts. If people don't know what they're going to vote for or why voting for it is important, then there's no reason for them to be interested in it at all. So what we focus on is if people understand that the very beginning of this is when you walk into a pet store that sells puppies, find out where they come from. First of all, most reputable breeders aren't going to send their puppies to a pet store because they want to know where they go. They want to know when they go to a good home. If people at home have a dog, they want to make sure if it's going to go somewhere, that's going to go somewhere that's going to be taken care of and not abused.
They want to meet the people.
Yeah, they want to know. And so reputable breeders aren't going to ship hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of puppies a year, if not thousands, out to some pet store they don't know. And so one of the biggest things that we try to make people aware of is that Iowa's the second worst in the nation.
That's hard to believe. It really is.
And what that means is we have over 220 puppy mills, which adds up to over 10,000 dogs in cages.
Yeah, and this is where the puppies are going too. Now, when you think about, we have only 99 counties in the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
And you're talking at least 220. Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah, and
Wow.
there's one just about, I think, 35 minutes west of Des Moines. So it's not like it's all rural stuff. And a lot of them just look like farms. A lot of them look like even hog facilities where you think it's just a normal farm. But inside of that, they keep it very careful to make sure nobody knows what's actually going on inside of there. And some of them, you can actually drive up and see the cages and that kind of stuff. So, it's a thing that you have to go and try and find it if you want to see it.
What is the biggest hassle? What's the biggest obstacle we need to get over to get some of these things changed, to get some humane situations here instead of putting them in cages like this?
Well, the hardest part for it is this was going on 28 years or so that we know of before the Animal Welfare Act was enacted. And that's been, I think, about 30 years now since that was put in place. So legislatively, people like the ARL, which you guys have on here, they've been working for a very long time to try and get legislature changed. People ask, why don't you just do that? Why don't you just get the laws changed? Well, the biggest problem with it is agriculture is such a huge thing in Iowa and around the whole country that there are lobby groups and all sorts of special interest groups that try and keep anything animal welfare from passing. And the biggest reason why, and this actually came up with the ARL's bill that they're pushing forward, people are saying, we don't want anything to pass because we're afraid it will trickle down to hogs and chickens and cows and all sorts of things. So they're literally preventing anything that's going to help with this situation from happening because they don't want it to trickle down.
Which is a ridiculous argument,
yeah.
but that's absolutely ridiculous argument.
But that's also why education is an important aspect of what your organization does. So how are you able to educate your audience so that they know exactly what is going on?
Well, you know, like you said, education is the most important part of this. And the second most important part is that when people are educated, that they don't go into the store and purchase the dogs. If you stop the cash flow, you know, if you stop people from actually buying the product, then there's not going to be a demand for it anymore. That's literally like the easiest way to get it to stop, because legislation takes a lot of money, takes a lot of time, and so far hasn't had a whole lot of success. So what we're focusing on is actually getting people to understand that there are other options. You know, adopting is probably one of the best things out there. If you're not that interested in adopting, you can go to our website at bailingoutbenji.com, and we talk about what the things are to look for if you're going to buy from a breeder. You know, to see the mom and the dad, ask to see all the puppies at one time, that kind of thing. And most reputable breeders are going to be perfectly fine with that. So, you know, being educated about where you're going to invest your money will lead to a lot of really, really good progress for this entire thing.
Now, you're not saying that breeding puppies is bad, because that's one thing I want to make sure that we clarify is that you're not you know, frowning on them. You're frowning on the idiots that turn them into puppy mills.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there are a lot of reputable breeders out there that do a fantastic job of taking care of the breed, taking care of genetics, that kind of things. A lot of puppies and puppy mills are just incest and breeding. You know, they do it over and over and over and over as long as they possibly can. And then when they're done with them, they either auction them off the same way they would with cattle and that kind of stuff. And they usually have all sorts of different diseases, those kind of things. And, you know, the rescues end up taking care of them. You know, all the dogs that would have been rescued in the first place or adopted in the first place, they end up there 14, 15 years later in terrible condition.
Okay.
Rather.
You guys will also be able to let everybody know how to contact our legislators too, because if there's legislators that aren't doing anything, then you need to replace them. Then we need to get some people in there that will do something. Enough of this messing around for 3 decades trying to get something done. We need to get something done. Tell everybody how to get information about your organization.
Yep. It's bailingoutbenji.com is our blog where we keep all of our posts, and you can stay up to date on what events we have going on, and also plenty of places on how to find out about taking care of legislation. You can also look at the USDA reports of what puppy mills are in Iowa, how many dogs they have, what pet stores they go to, and if you want to get involved in protesting and those kind of things, there's plenty of information on there. And also just our Facebook to stay up to date on what kind of stuff we're doing, what kind of rescue transports, that kind of stuff, all the positive things, and then you know, all sorts of good stuff on there.
So, thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you so much for telling everybody about this.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.